America is now the largest debtor nation in the history of the world. The debts are getting worse every day.
Meet Jim Rogers, a legendary American investor with an estimated net worth of $300 million. Jim retired from trading at 38 and took a motorcycle trip around the world. And for the last 17 years he has been residing in Singapore. Jim Rogers shared with me why it's not easy for him to give up American citizenship, his feelings upon returning to the US, and why a true American patriot should move to another country. I'm Max, an entrepreneur and YouTuber from Singapore. Let's go.
I talked to Andrew, Nomad Capitalist. His motto is go where you're treated best. Philosophically, you agree with this approach?
People should live where they're treated best. I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
We like Singapore. We're treated well in Singapore. Maybe we'd be treated better if we were citizens, but no, we're quite happy here. And it certainly makes good sense that people should live where they're treated best. I mean, for goodness sakes, that makes a lot of sense. But sometimes it's not so easy. If you're Portuguese or something, it's very easy to give up your citizenship. It's not easy to give up the American citizenship. They don't make it easy for you.
Why?
Why? Because they don't want people to leave.
Like technically? So it's a difficult process?
It's expensive. First of all, you have to pay a lot of taxes to give up your citizenship. And you can't just walk in and say, hello, here's my passport. No, you have to go through a lot of forms and meetings and interviews and everything else. It's easy to give up your citizenship in many countries. It's not for Americans. Patriotism is a strong emotion for many people. Samuel Johnson, who was a British intellectual 300 years ago, said that patriotism is the last refuge of fools and scoundrels. He thought it was a simple emotion that didn't have much basis, intelligent reason. But many people are extremely patriotic. Many people think it's great to die for it. My father said it was a great honor if you could die for your country. So many people are very patriotic and feel that they should do everything they can for their country. Even their country may be making mistakes. You know, I don't know. I know there were many people who were extremely patriotic and loyal to Germany in the 1940s. Was that a mistake or not? I don't. You have to ask them. For me, it was a mistake, but they were extremely patriotic. They thought they should do everything they could for their country, and they were willing to die for their country. I mean, I am an American, quite happy to stay an American, and I am an American, but that doesn't mean America doesn't make mistakes, and that something shouldn't, at least in America, you can vote against the mistake, and I usually do, but I am not a person who says my country right or wrong. The most patriotic people are the people who try to correct the mistakes in whatever country it is. I mean, if you live in Italy and they're making mistakes, it's very patriotic to try to correct those mistakes. It's not, to me, it's not patriotic to say, they're making a mistake, but I'll support them anyway. That's not patriotic. For me, that's not patriotic.
After living for so many years abroad, how your view on the US changed?
Travel certainly broadens one and gives one a different perspective, and you will know more about your own country if you live outside of your own country for a while. You will see things from a different brain, different viewpoint, so you certainly see your own, whatever your own country is. In fact, there was Rudyard Kipling, was an English poet, 100 years ago, won the Nobel Prize for literature for some reason. But he had a poem called The English Flag, and in that poem there is a line which says, "What can he know of England who only England knows?" So in other words, you know more about England if you know other countries too, than if you never leave England. But that would apply to every country. America, Russia, it doesn't matter what country, you will know more about your own country if you can see from a different viewpoint. So international travel is very good for nearly everybody. I've been traveling outside the US for 60 years. So who knows? But I do know that everything I thought when I was 18 about anything has changed. I knew nothing when I was 18, although I thought I did.
Yeah.
But you know, even just going away, far away within America, my view of America changed because I saw America from different parts of America.
What's the most important thing when you are about to launch your own project or side hustle or business? Let me help you. It's the supply of clients. If you have a good product but don't know where to sell it and who to sell it to, then you're screwed. And YouTube is the best way actually to attract clients in 2024. I'll be running a 3-day online workshop, YouTube Fast Track to Views and Passive Income, where you will learn how literally to start your channel, how to find your niche, how to gain your first 1,000 subscribers, and how to gain a lot of views even on a smaller channel. And of course, the main thing, how to make money and even a passive income on this channel. Before this workshop was paid, now I'm doing it for free to allow more people to actually take place and to try to start and grow YouTube channel themselves. So if it's something that interests you, sign up at the link below. It's free, no obligations except one. You have to be there on the dates of the workshop. So see you there. What do you feel when you touch the ground at the airport in the US? What's your feelings?
Thank God the flight's over. Thank God I'm finally somewhere where I can sit and rest. I don't have any kind of patriotic feelings when I land in Singapore or America or anywhere. My main delight is 16-hour flight is coming to an end, or whatever the number of hours it has been.
Does any country makes you sentimental when you come? I don't know, something. Portugal
America
or something.
makes me sentimental.
Yeah.
I grew up there. My family was there. I went to university in England. So I got married in England. So yeah, there are countries where I have sentimental reasons, whatever it is, school, marriage, whatever it is. So, but not so overwhelming that I'm going to move there just for sentimental reasons.
What do you think the future of the US? Like, let's say in 10 years, in 20 years, how do you see the country?
Well, nearly every country in the world that has been on top has gone into decline. There is no country ever that has stayed on top forever. Every country, no matter how successful, has eventually gone into decline. America is now the largest debtor nation in the history of the world. The debts are getting worse every day. That has never been a good way to run a country. Building up huge debts has never been good for a country. So I don't like what I see happening in America. So you ask about America in 50, my children are teenagers. You know, they're going to have a lot of problems in America in their lifetime because the debts are skyrocketing.
As you're saying, no countries stay on top forever. Singapore has been doing well for quite some time. What do you think the main challenges for Singapore as a country for the next 10, 20 years?
Singapore has been an independent country since 1965, say, and it's certainly done extremely well. In those years, it was a small country. It was a swamp. I wasn't here, but I'm told it was a swamp with very few people. But now it's extremely rich, extremely successful, and not a swamp. And the population has gone up by 10 times or something. So Singapore has done something right, but Singapore also has a lot of debt now. The IMF says that Singapore is one of the most indebted countries in the world. Now, Singapore says, yeah, we have a lot of debt, but we have a lot of assets, too. We don't know what the assets are, because they won't tell us, but we know they have a lot of assets, as well as a lot of debt. So far, so good.
Yeah.
I mean, they've done a very good job in the past 50 or 60 years. I hope it continues, since I like living here. I very much want to stay here. So far, so good. I do worry about the debt, the huge debt that they have built up, but so far so good.
Yeah.
Most countries, most societies have an expression that in 3 generations, a nation goes from rags to rags. A family goes from rags to rags. You know, the first generation starts off, they work hard, they get successful. Then the 3rd generation spends it all, and things get bad again. I don't know if that's going to happen in Singapore. It certainly happened in a lot of families and a lot of countries. But we're going into the 4th generation, so if it's valid, we should start worrying.
Who are the main competitors to Singapore here in the region? Let's say Bangkok, Kuala Lumpur, Jakarta, or the new capital of Indonesia?
Well, I like those places. I don't consider them competitors to Singapore. In that sense, every place is a competitor to Singapore. You know, in that sense, Vladivostok is a competitor to Singapore.
I don't think so.
Well, I don't either. That's what I mean. I don't see that in yours. I don't know your definition, but I don't see that Singapore has many competitors in the English word competitor.
Okay, let's put it this way. Singapore is super attractive for foreign talent, for expats, for foreigners to come, to work, to stay. What could be the other places in Asia where, let's say, foreigners, I want to live there, I want to do business there?
Well, Dubai is becoming a competitor in that sense. Many people are now beginning to move to Dubai. It's got good regulatory system, it's got a good tax system, it's a prosperous nation for many reasons. So Dubai is becoming a competitor in that sense. I guess maybe Sydney would be a competitor, possible competitor. Hong Kong was, but it's not now because of its changes. Seoul would like to be a competitor. Tokyo would like to be a competitor, but you know, the bureaucracy in those countries is so massive.
A couple of questions about your trip, like motorcycle trip across the world. What's the biggest change of perspective about some country that, let's say, you visited and then it's completely, your understanding about the country was completely different compared to what you saw in reality?
Well, I would certainly say China in those days, because, you know, American propaganda was still pretty much that the red Chinese communists were undeveloped and backward country. Russia was still run by the Soviets. I could see that was changing as I drove across the Soviet Union. Wherever I went, not wherever, but in many countries there were changes taking place, especially because communism was failing. And you know, nobody wanted to be a communist anymore. If they did, they wanted to be a rich communist. You know, all that had changed. All that stuff from Marx and Lenin. People realized that communism was not a good system. I could see those changes taking place everywhere I went, and it was interesting.
And I guess it's a drastic change versus now. Let's say China back then versus now. It's a huge, huge.
China is a different world now. It's
Yeah.
not the same country. Well, even Russia's a different world. It's not the same country. China is much more changed, much more dramatic. Many places changed.
What will be another China like in 30 years? The country that you cannot just believe how it will change in 30 years.
I would suspect that Korea, in the next 30 years, I suspect that the 38th parallel will disappear, and that once the Korean peninsula is not at war with each other, that will be an extremely exciting and a dramatic country.
But you believe it opens for sure, like?
For the next 30 years, yes. You can
Yeah.
write it down, yes.
If you cannot live in Singapore, for some reason, where would you live?
I would probably go to the U.S. since I'm an American citizen. Probably go to Houston or Miami or one of those bustling cities. That's probably where I would live. I don't think I would go to Dubai, although many people are going to Dubai now. And it's certainly a wonderful place. Maybe, Dubai is better than Abu Dhabi, if you ask me. So I guess I would probably go back to the U.S.
You know, my grandma used to say, if you watched just one YouTube video, you're already a good person. But if you watch a second one straight away, you're an incredible person. So do it right now. Don't upset my grandma.